Does the color green taste like almonds? Phonemes are the smallest parts of a spoken language. They're individual sounds like k and b and ah, and they're what help us distinguish individual words in a language from all the other words. We have something kind of like phonemes for written language as well. They're the smallest, meaningful parts of the written language, and they're things like letters and numbers. We call those graphemes. Some people see different graphemes as being different colors, no matter what color they're actually printed in. We call that color grapheme synesthesia. The word synesthesia comes from two different Greek words, the first being soon, meaning together or with, and the second word being aesthesis, meaning sensation. So translated, the word synesthesia means sensing together. It's a rare phenomenon in which the activation of one sense causes another sense to be activated at the same time. It's both involuntary and irrepressible, which means that it happens on its own without the synesthete consciously triggering it. And if you were wondering what a synesthete is, it's just someone who has synesthesia. Okay, so I already told you that color grapheme synesthesia is when a synesthete associates different letters and numbers of different colors. What that means is that while the rest of us might see the name Samgamesh like this, someone with color grapheme synesthesia might see it a little bit more like this. There are a lot of different types of synesthesia. Color grapheme synesthesia just happens to be one of the most common forms of it. Other types of synesthesia allow people to see time as different spatial references around them, or to taste sounds. The documentary Derek Tastes of Earwax is titled after the true account of a man named James who tastes earwax every time he hears the name Derek spoken aloud. He tastes pretty much all other words too. Derek and earwax just happens to be a particularly memorable one. We don't really know exactly how many people have synesthesia. A good middle-of-the-road estimate seems to be about 1 in every 100 people. It's difficult to assess though, because some people with synesthesia are afraid to come forward about it, out of fear of being labeled a liar or a freak, and others may not even be aware that they're doing something different than the rest of us, because that's just the way things have always been for them. After all, most people with synesthesia have had it since childhood. There is nothing wrong with having synesthesia. It's not caused by any illnesses or disorders. Actually, most people with synesthesia tend to score higher on both memory and intelligence tests than the rest of us. Okay, so here's where it starts to get really cool. Dr. Danko Nikolic is a neuroscientist with the Planck Institute in Frankfurt, Germany, and he studies synesthesia. Now, while studying synesthetes with color grapheme synesthesia, he found that if he introduced new symbols for existing letters, synesthetes with color grapheme synesthesia would begin to associate those new graphemes with the same colors as the original letters. So say a synesthete with color grapheme synesthesia associates the letter S with the color green. Now replace the letter S with a new symbol and teach the synesthete that it represents S. Here's what the synesthete is going to see now. Okay, so that's cool, but what happens if we take this a step further? What if the font we're using represents the letter S with the same grapheme as the number 5? And what if the synesthete sees the number 5 as a different color than the letter S, like red? What color is the synesthete gonna see? As it turns out, it all depends on context. If the grapheme is surrounded by letters, it will be interpreted as an S, and it'll be green. But if it's surrounded by numbers, it will be interpreted as a 5, and will be seen as red. Dr. Nikolic calls this Ideasthesia, which means sensing ideas, and he defines it as a phenomenon in which the activation of an idea evokes a perception-like experience, and it shows us the central role that concepts play in the additional senses experienced by synesthetes. And Ideasthesia may reveal something important about all of us. As it turns out, Ideasthesia might be what allows us to create great works of art and literature, to understand the world around us. It may even be what made the invention of language possible. Researchers showed two different shapes to people and asked them to decide which one is named Kiki and which one is named Booba. Overwhelmingly, people from all over say the shape on the left is Kiki, while the shape on the right is Booba. Most people even agree on different personality traits to be attached to these shapes, saying Kiki is definitely energetic or nervous, and Booba is lazy. What we can get from all of this is that we all make these complex connections between things and ideas, and we all use those connections to interpret the world around us. Without that, we may have never had any chance of getting to where we are now. Synesthesia just might be a small glimpse at what makes us, us. Thanks for watching.